press hard and we get through the fire. Got the edge and we're taking it higher. Reaching for the ages, and we got it all. We are power.
Welcome back to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. Today is a little bit different. You're just stuck with me, no guest, but it's where I get to get a little bit more legal. So today I want to talk to you guys about prenups. And I feel like I just cannot shout enough from the rooftops about prenups, and people still just don't get them. And so if you're listening right now and you're thinking, well, Holly, we don't get them because we're not super wealthy, or this isn't our like third or fourth marriage and we know how nasty a divorce can be, like, please don't tune out. Please do not tune out. I believe that going through the exercise of doing a prenup, whether you signed it or not, and I'll explain that a little bit later, but going through the exercise of doing a prenup, preparing a prenup, is one of the most loving things that a couple can do together. The reason I feel so strongly and why I get a little bit fired up about people that don't do prenups is because people will spend thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a wedding, and they will spend a year planning the wedding, and they will take all this time in selecting the dress and the venue and the cake and all the things that go into that, and they won't sit down together for a couple hours really, or even if it took, more than a couple hours, like over the course of a couple weeks, to talk about things that truly matter. Because the wedding is just a spectacle. Like, the wedding lasts one day. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I am a huge fan of going all out on your wedding. I went all out, or I should say my parents went all out on my wedding. We had 500 people at my wedding. Like, it was the night of my life. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was grand. It was all the things that I wanted it to be. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do the same thing, probably even make it even more grand. But like, at the end of the day, nothing about that wedding, I mean, yes, we have wonderful memories and all that, but like, nothing about that wedding has impacted our lives together. It's really just, I mean, yes, it's a celebration and all of that. I don't want to get too far afield on that. Like, I love great, grand and glorious weddings. But the part that just bothers me so much, because I do feel like it's sort of, we see this everywhere in society, is like, people will invest more in the things that other people see. There's people walking around with designer handbags that don't have car insurance. And it's like, that kind of stuff just really irks me, because they're not taking care of business. They're not doing the things that really matter. They're doing the things that everybody else sees and then maybe gives them social status and all that bull crap. Which, again, if you've seen me, I get down with a designer handbag or two or 20. But like, you got to take care of business. You've got to take care of the things that really matter. You have to set things in place that are like a solid foundation. And to me, that is what a prenup is it's really, or the function of going through the exercise of doing a prenup. There's a lot of very sophisticated, highly educated, very wealthy people walking around, and you would think that they know exactly what they're getting into when they get married. They understand community property law. They've got these big, highfalutin, fancy jobs. They've got financial advisors. They have lawyers. They have all these things. And you would be shocked to know the number of people that I have personally represented that they're in the middle of a divorce and they are so surprised and so shocked and so angry at what the community property laws are requiring of them to dispose of all the assets. And these are highly educated people. These are surgeons. These are professionals. These are even sometimes not family law lawyers, but lawyers. Like, you would be shocked at these people that you think, well, they certainly know what they got into when they got married without a prenup, but they don't. And so So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. I want to impress upon you like the importance of doing the exercise of doing a prenup, getting that solid foundation. And also like lately, I mean, it could just be my algorithm because Instagram knows I care about prenups. But lately I've been seeing all these even like celebrities and big people, Grant Cardone, talking about you don't need a prenup. Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, Kevin Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, like business tycoon. He probably has a legal team that, you know, he pays $1 million a month for. I've even seen him talking about lately how you don't need a prenup, just stay married forever. Okay, well, that's a lot easier said than done. And the odds are certainly not in your favor. And why bet on, like, the betting odds are terrible, okay? And you don't want to make decisions based on the exception to the rule or the purple unicorn or the amazing, you know, I mean, Grant Cardone and his wife are on record talking about prenups like, we don't need a prenup, you know, because we're still married and we're going to be married forever. I'm so happy for them. I really am. And I hope that's your case too. I hope that if you're married now or if you're getting married, you'll stay married forever. But the function of going through prior to getting married, talking about your life, talking about the expectations of each party's role in the marriage, talking about how you're going to handle finances. Like that's a very loving, respectful, and very mature thing to do. And if you're not doing that, I think you're doing yourself and your unit, your little couple unit, a huge disservice. Now, if you sit down with a lawyer, with whoever, to talk about, you know, to have like the conversation about a prenup, and you sit down and you really go through all the various scenarios of how community property law plays out in California in the event of a divorce, and you guys both decide, like, I'm cool with that. I actually like the rules of California community property law. Like, if I had to do a prenup, I would actually draft it to completely mirror California's community property laws. If that's how both of you feel, okay, then you don't actually need a prenup. You can just go with how California community property law would dictate your divorce, and that would be fine. But at least you went into that situation with your eyes wide open. At least you went into that situation understanding the rules of the game, and you made a very informed, careful decision that you're going to just go with the rules of the game that California has prescribed for you. I have a feeling if you actually did that exercise, you would decide you would rather determine your own fate than have the California legislature determine it for you. And that is when a prenup is very, very useful. Now, this is where I think so many people get it wrong, because I think so many people think that a prenup is really just to preclude the other person from getting anything in a divorce. That's definitely not the function of a prenup. I think people have the idea that a prenup is really just dooming the marriage to divorce. Well, there are actually statistics that say people that have a prenup are less likely to get a divorce. I personally don't think it's the prenup itself. I think it's the fact that you have two mature adults who were well advised to sit down and talk through these issues. And so because they already are inclined to talk through like roles and responsibilities during the marriage and, you know, what would happen in this and that scenario and planning and preparing for those things, they're probably just being more intentional about the relationship. I mean, that's just my own 2 cents. You can take it or leave it. But I don't think it's the prenup itself that is the glue that holds the relationship together. I think it's the fact that they cared enough about certain things and about setting a solid foundation that actually is what makes it a higher likelihood that they will stay married. But throw out what you know about prenups. It's not to keep the other person from ever getting anything. I have done prenups that actually provide the other person even more than they would get in a California divorce, because that was important in their relationship, so that there was secure, like there were some concerns about like security and, you know, one party wanted to really make sure that the other party felt super, super secure. So in that prenup, we deviated from California law and actually were overly generous with what the other party would get. So the function of a prenup merely is just to determine your own fate and not have the California legislature determine it for you. Because why would you ever want to put your fate in somebody else's hands? When you have the opportunity to create your own destiny, why would you ever not want to take yourself up on that opportunity? So, but if you go through the whole exercise of going through all these scenarios with a lawyer and you go, nope, I really like California community property law, we both agree that those are the rules that we would want, great, I'm fine with that. I just want you to go into this with eyes wide open, and I want you to set a firm foundation for your future together. And I feel that's what a prenup does. So you can put me on record here and now, Holly J. Moore. Huge fan of prenups. Also huge fan of marriage, by the way. Huge fan of marriage. Get a prenup. See you on the next one.
A prenuptial agreement, or sometimes called a premarital agreement, is an agreement that two parties enter into before they get married that basically chooses to deviate from state law. It assigns rights and responsibilities regarding assets and debts that are acquired during the marriage. Some common misconceptions about prenups are, one, that they basically doom the marriage to failure, or that it's really planning to divorce, and neither of those things are true. But the real value of a prenup is talking about and creating rules around how the things that you acquire during the marriage are going to be characterized. A prenup can protect things like art collections, real estate portfolios, businesses, all those types of assets. The ideal timeline to get a prenup is not 2 weeks before the wedding. The final version of a prenup has to be presented to the parties 7 days before they actually sign it. So there's like a 7-day waiting period. As soon as you get engaged, you should seek a lawyer's advice and counsel on a prenup and start the process then, because the closer the prenup is signed to the wedding, the more likely that the court is going to think there was some sort of duress involved in that person signing it, and they have to prove that the prenup was signed voluntarily in order for them to be enforced. At Moore Family Law Group, we represent a lot of high-profile people, celebrities, professional athletes, business tycoons. If you already have a lot of assets, or you think you're going to be acquiring a lot of assets during your marriage, we are the best ones to protect that for you and help you make your marriage stronger. Call Moore Family Law Group today.